Hello everyone, my name is Jules. Welcome to our channel, Africa Real Freedom. For those who are interested, please go ahead and subscribe for more videos. This is our first video on this channel, and today we're going to talk about what's going on presently around the world and mostly in Africa. For this first video, I call on American people. I call on Biden administration. I also, the last and not the least, call on African American. For this first video, for this first show, we will try to answer the question why African countries refuse to condemn Russia about Ukraine. Why African countries refuse to condemn Russia on Ukraine. In other words, why the majority of countries in Africa support Russia against NATO's countries members. To answer the question, we will convoke history. Because my grandpa, I grew up with my grandpa, and he always told me, you cannot feed the tree from the branches. To feed the tree, you have to feed the roots. That means what? That means you cannot solve a problem from the consequences. Solve the cause of the problem. That's why we are going back. We're going to go back to history to try to understand the behavior of those African countries who are supporting Russia. During the last four weeks. During the last 4 weeks, what do we notice? We notice first, President Emmanuel Macron went out touring in Africa. He went to Cameroon. He went to Guinea, and he also went to Benin. And after that, 2 weeks later, I think, Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, the U.S. Secretary of State, touring in Africa too. The aim of this touring, based on what we heard, was to ask African countries to turn away from Russia. It was to ask African countries not dealing militarily and economically with Russia. It is easy when you want to solve a problem to see the problem right away, to solve the problem that you see. You don't solve any problem from what you see, no. To solve a problem, you have to sit down and answer the question, what happened before we got here? What happened before we get here? That is the question that you have to ask for yourself. Sure, it was wrong for Russia to invade Ukraine. It wasn't a good idea. We are not saying that it was a good idea. No, because an independent country cannot invade another independent countries. So, what we're going to do, we're going to convoke the history of the relationship between African countries and NATO's members. And from there, American people, you're going to be aware of what is going on in Africa. You're going to understand, you're going to have tools to understand why African countries behave like that. We have four elements of the countries, four elements of history of the relationship between Africa as a continent, and some NATO's and some countries, some NATO's members countries. The first one is slavery. Who perpetrated slavery in Africa? That is 5 centuries of relationship. We're gonna convoke five centuries of relationship between Western countries and Africa. What happened during the period of slavery? 4 centuries of slavery. What's happened? That means the relationship with those Western countries with Africa was very tough, was violent. There was barbarism. There was condescendence. There was dismissive. They were childish. No respect. So African people were used, black people were used as non-human people. They were used as animals. They forgot about that. The next step was colonialism. Who did the colonialism in Africa? The colonialism during what we had a lot of barbarism in Africa. They were forcing people to work. They were killing people that did not meet their goals during the work time. For example, if they ask you to bring 20 liters of buckets of coals, if you don't bring it, they can kill you. 2, or they can take your son and chop his arm. We had that. In Africa. They cut one girl arm because his dad did not meet his goal, because his dad did not do his assignment. Third, neocolonialism. During neocolonialism, what happened? First, before I get there, I'm going to start. During the independence period, 1960s, what happened? They killed all the nationalists. Those who were prepared to govern, they killed them. They killed all those who were prepared to govern after independence. And put into the power those who did not want independence, who wanted to continue to serve under the colonialists. One case that everybody knows, Patrice Lumumba. Another one, Kwame Nkrumah. Chris Olympio. Umnyobe. Ernest Wanjier. They were killed. And they put into the power those and they put into the power those that they control. That's what happened. That is history. Because if you don't know these facts, American people, you're not going to understand. You're going to always ask the question, why African people are behaving like that? It's better to know, to make your own mind, to make your own judgment. And after that, there was neocolonialism. They continue to colonize people under those who they place into the power. They continue to colonize the countries, those countries, under those who they brought into the power. They install their puppet into the power and continue colonization. That was called neocolonialism. And some president, some leaders that they put into the power, if they refuse to do their will, they're going to remove him by coup. They're going to organize a coup to remove him to the power and then put another person. That's why you have a lot of coup in Africa during 1960 and 2000, because the president was there, refused at a certain point, at a certain moment, refused to obey. He refused to obey, and organized a coup to remove him into the power. When you see Laurent Gbagbo in Cote d'Ivoire, what happened? When you see Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, what happened in 1987? He was killed because he did not obey, because he wanted to serve his country, his people, and that's it. He wanted to serve the interest, only the interest of his people. Only the interest of his country. I think that's the main duty of a president. Serving his country and serving his people, that's it. Always looking for the interests of his people. That is the main duty of the president. But those who were abroad, who made the coup against him, they wanted him to serve their interest first. He refused. He said, no, that's going to happen. And the fourth point is the supporting of those Western countries, the support of those Western countries to dictators. Those Western countries are supporting dictators because those dictators are the ones that are protecting their interests. Natural resources, like gas, like kerosene, like natural gas. They know they're going to have it for cheap. Can you imagine that a country in Africa who produce oil has only 15%? Why another country like Saudi Arabia has more than 75% of the production? Because the country is in Africa, because it's in Africa, and he's ruling by a dictator. The country has only 15% of the revenue. And a country like Saudi Arabia has 17%. 75% of the revenue. There's a huge gap between 15% And 75%, it's more acceptable than 15%. But why African leaders are accepting 15%? Because if they refuse, they go organize a coup to remove him there. They're going to put him down. And the fifth point is the blindness of Western countries about the violation of human rights. When those dictators that are placed by Western countries, that are supported by Western countries, when they violate human rights, all those Western countries who are saying we are democratic countries, they look away. They cover their eyes. They don't see that. I'm talking to Anthony Blinken. The role of the Secretary of State is to promote democracy in the world, is to promote human rights in the world. And as American, I'm asking you to do your duty. Do your job. Promote democracy in the world. Promote human rights in the world. You have countries like Cameroon or Cote d'Ivoire. Opposition leaders have been arrested for nothing and put in jail and condemned. 2 years, 5 years, 7 years. And you keep quiet. You keep quiet. You're looking away. What do you bring into on the table when asking African countries to support you against Russia? What are you bringing on the table? Are you protecting dictators or you want to help the people? Make your choice and deal with the consequences. And let me tell you one thing. I'm going to talk to all the Western countries, US, France, England, and and other countries. Africa is no longer the same Africa that you had 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 100 years ago, or 500 years ago. No, it's not longer like that. There is an awakened consciousness in Africa right now. African people are not amnesic. They don't suffer amnesia. They follow a trend. They look for a trend. They watch the trend, what's happened in the past before taking a decision. What do you have in Africa? You have a big leadership. African people are smart. They go to universities around the world. They are doing way more better than they did many years ago. They have access to information that everyone can have access to. They use their own judgment. So what I'm asking you, Western countries, US, France, England, Italy, Germany, what I'm asking you, stop being condescending about black people. Stop being condescending about black people. That is the key to gain their respect. That's the key to bring them to you. Because you always act towards African countries and black people like people that those people are immature. You always act in a childish way. You always infantilize those people. No, it's not. It never been like that. It's no like that. That it's no such thing. It is not such thing. They are not immature. They are mature. They are smart. They have access to all the information that you guys have. So be careful now. Be careful now when you are talking to them, when you talk to them. Solve the problem from the roots, not from the consequences. If you don't go back and solve the root problem, you will never solve the consequences. You will never solve the consequences. There is a way out. We together, we can flip things around. We can flip things around. There is a way out. Anthony Blinken, Emmanuel Macron, and others. Western country leaders, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to American people. There is a way out. Stop presenting only consequences. Because there is a relationship between consequences and emotion. You are presenting consequences to reveal that emotion. But it doesn't work in Africa. That emotion doesn't work. As I was saying, there is a way out. The first thing you want to do, you have to do, is to deal only with the people. Because you're dealing only with, right now, you're dealing only with the leaders that are controlled by you. The leaders that are cheating to gain election. Let me tell you one thing, one secret. Maybe you already know it, but I'm going to tell you. Because I don't want you to say tomorrow or the day after that I didn't know. But I'm telling you now. I'm talking to Biden administration. I'm talking to American people. I'm talking to African American people here in the US. The first thing to do is to deal with the people. Show that you have respect for the people. Self-determination. It's not only for Western countries people, it's also for African countries people. In Cameroon, for example, the president who is there, he has been ruling the country for 40 years. 40 freaking years. Why? Because he's using first army. He's using his ethnicity to control all the aspects of the countries. Justice, military, finance, police enforcement. Second, he's cheating elections. He lost the elections in 1982. We have the proof that he lost the elections in 1982. And when people went on the street to protest, to claim their victory, he sent the military and the police and put them in jail. And he also killed some people. In 1982. In 2018, he also lost the election. October 2018. He lost the election. And he did the same. He sent the military out, killing people, arrest some, and put them in jail. The same thing happened in Gabon. The same thing happened in Côte d'Ivoire. The same thing is happening in all French-speaking countries in Africa. Why? You have to ask this question. Why? This mostly happen in French-speaking countries in Africa. My problem is not France. France has to do what he's doing. But my problem is what is US is doing. You never condemn that. Right now in Côte d'Ivoire, we have more than 115 political prisoners in Côte d'Ivoire. In Cameroon, we have almost the same number, political prisoners in Cameroon. Why they were arrested? Because their protests against the malgovernance, their protests against the war that's happening in the southwest and northwest part of the countries. They are killing innocent people, burning houses, killing women in the hospital, killing children, burning houses with children inside the house. Can you imagine that? US did not put his feet down and say, no, this has to stop. No, you didn't do that. Do you have an interest on this war? Biden administration, I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question, Biden administration. Do you have any interest on this war in Cameroon? Are you supporting the dictator, Paul Biya, who has been ruling the country for 40 years? For 40 years, how many presidents in the US passed? 8. 8 presidents. And so far in Cameroon, we have only 2 presidents since the independence. Since independence, we have only two presidents. And let me tell you one thing, Prince President. In 2025, it's going to be crucial in Africa. I told you that African people are raising up. They are raising their voice. Be careful. They are raising their degree of consciousness. And in 2025, we're going to have 2 crucial elections, presidential election in Africa, in Cote d'Ivoire and in Cameroon. I say in Cote d'Ivoire and in Cameroon. In both countries, they changed the constitution. They changed the constitution to remove the limitation of terms in those 2 countries. And as I told you before, what did they do? They're cheating. The election is rigged. Elections are rigged in those countries. So you might have, if you don't take actions early, you might have a genocide. You might have mass killing. I'm talking to the UN, United Nations. I'm talking to Anthony Guterres, the Secretary of the UN. If you don't take any action, I'm talking to Biden administration, and the actions should be taken now. Now, to avoid mass killing Because those two people, Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon, they are tired. They are tired. They want another president. If you don't pay attention, this is a warning alert that I'm sending to you. A warning alert that I'm sending to you. If you don't pay attention, you might have mass killing in 2025, maybe before. Maybe before. What can you do to avoid that and to show that you are with the people? When you are with the people, you are their friends. You are their friend. First thing to do, put pressure on those countries to sit down. For a national conference. Sit down for a national conference. And in this national conference, during what? We're going to have a new constitution, a new electoral code, that with a consensual electoral code that will satisfy the majority of people. Put that pressure. Use the UN, the United States, the United Nations to put that pressure. And we know how you can put the pressure. You know how. Sanctions, as you sanction Russia. And give them a delay, a timeline. Give them a timeline. For example, you can say before June, before June 2025. Everything should be done. This is just an example. A consensual electoral code is the key to show that the decision is taken by the people. Because let me tell you one thing. Those countries are not going, they're seeking a shelter. That's why they're going to Russia. They don't go to Russia because they love Russia. No, they're seeking a shelter. Because the other side has been bullying them for more than 70 years. There have been disrespect. There has been dehumanized for more than 70 years. Western country has been condescending towards them. That's why they go to see China. That's why they turn on China and Russia. That is the truth that I'm telling you. You have to change your narrative. You have to change your behavior. change your behavior. It's very important. If you don't change your behavior, all African countries, they're going to turn on Russia and China. And let me tell you one thing. In 2008, when President Obama was elected as the first that's the first African American president, as the first black president of America, of the United States. That election gave African people a hint of hope. That election gave African people hope to get rid of dictators. To get rid of dictators. People were happy everywhere. What they needed, what those people needed that time, and they still need it at this time. Someone who's going to come, ask all those countries to put in place a consensual electoral code, because consensual electoral code is the key to maintain peace in those countries. Don't forget Rwanda. Don't forget Rwanda. Biden administration. Do not forget Rwanda. African people, American people. Rwanda is not far. But what we see, what did we see at that time of when Obama was elected in 2011? They set up a coalition, a NATO coalition, to destroy Libya and kill Gaddafi. They killed Gaddafi and destroyed Libya. I remember that time, Mr. President, in 2011. We heard from different news, no, we're going to rebuild Libya in 2 years. We're going to set up democracy. Do we have democracy now in Libya, Mr. President? Do we have democracy now in Libya? There is democracy right now. Libya is a mess. So, cracking down Libya opened the gate for jihadists to invade the Sahel and the rest of Africa. That is where the destruction of Africa now, that we see now, came from. It came from the destruction of Libya. The killing of Gaddafi. And when African people, black people in Africa, when they analyze what Barack Obama did to them, they say, our son did this to us. They are disappointed. They are deeply, deeply disappointed. They are deeply disappointed for what Barack Obama did to Africa in 2011. So to solve that problem, I told you, we can turn this around. The first thing to do, putting pressure on those countries for a consensual electoral code and consensual constitution. For a new constitution and a new consensual electoral code. That is the key. Biden administration. So it is important. I'm ending my video now. I want to talk to those who are gonna watch this video. Subscribe, because we're gonna do more videos to open your mind. We're gonna talk about what's going on in Mali. We're gonna talk about CIA, Central African Republic. We're gonna talk about Cameroon. We're gonna talk about Rwanda. We're gonna talk about Libya. We're gonna make videos to talk about Libya. And many other topics. So go ahead and subscribe, please. I want to open your mind to make your own judgment about Africa, about what's going on in Africa. Because there's a narrative, a negative narrative about Africa. I want to give you another point of view. I want to give you another side of the story. So subscribe and share if you want some other people to watch it. And asking my brothers and sisters in the world, my brother and sister in humanity, I'm asking brother and sister African American to listen to this video, share it with the brothers, with the sisters, share it with everybody. After that, you're going to see a similarity between Africa, how Africa countries are treated, and how black are treated all over the world. How black are treated all over the world. And I'm going to tell Biden administration, if you want black people here, African American, to be respected, to continue to vote for you, I highly recommend you, Biden administration, to go in Africa, solve that problem of dictatorship. Solve that problem of dictatorship. I gave you one point one a tip. I say, first, the best thing to do is consensual electoral code. Put a pressure on UN, IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank. Put pressure on them. Electoral code, consensual electoral code. So if you want African American here to be respected, go back in Africa. Because African American here, they are just consequences. The root is in Africa. If they are respected back home, they're going to be respected here. They will be respected here. That's what my grandpa told me. Respect starts from home. Respect starts from home. Bye-bye.